What is up, GOAT World? It is me, your boy JDZ, and I'm back at you again with another GOAT format video. Today, we have another match of the week. This may be a match that you've already seen, but I thought the match was so good, I had to feature it as the match of the week. That's right, we have the Format Library Grand Finals, and it's going to be taking place with two very, very strong GOAT format duelists. In the red corner, we have Dan Top Deck Team from Italy, and in the blue corner, we have Jean-Claude Van Damme. And like I said, if you just look at their experience on the GOAT format rated ladder, you can see that Dan Top Deck Team has 10,739 and Jean-Claude Van Damme has 13,485. This is the grand finals. This is a winner take all, loser go home type situation. Both of these duelists are qualified to go to the GOAT Format World Championship. So I did want to showcase this match because there are some serious high stakes. So we're about to hop on in, but as we're hopping in, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. So we're going to go through play by play and kind of do a breakdown of this match. But as always, make sure you get into the comment section and let me know what I missed and what plays you would have done different in certain situations. But keep in mind, as you're throwing around terms like misplay or all these types of things, this is 2 days of grueling GOAT format action, and this is the grand finals, and both of these players are European. So the fatigue is definitely a factor. You know, stress is definitely a factor. This is a high pressure situation in GOAT format, as both of these duels want to be title champions, as these events don't take place that often. So Dan Top Deck Team will go ahead and lead the charge with the first outplay of the day by winning rock, paper, scissors, and elects to go first. Go ahead and do it in the correct sequence. We're going to pitch the Thunder Dragons, we're going to jam the Upstart Goblin, and then we're going to T-set and pass, sending out the GK Spies, sending out the Regeki Break, Vibrate. Maybe sometimes people, I've seen turbo players do elect to put Magician of Faith down in a situation, since you do have this Upstart Goblins to get back, and your light monsters are already secured. But Dan Top Deck Team elected to put the GK Spy out because you can get this advantage train rolling early with the GK Spies. Sometimes those things just snowball the game. Also, I do like the play of keeping the Solemn Judgment in hand. I do notice a lot of newer players or people who don't have as much experience will see that Solemn Judgment, jam that thing onto the field, and then you might have to play it before it's an advantage to you. So keeping it in hand, probably the best way to go. As we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up, kick it back on over to Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's holding Graceful Charity. We'll blast the Graceful Charity here, getting double shoot and Mystic Tomato. We're going to kick the Metamorphosis, kick the Koichi, as you're going to go ahead and set up the Mystic Tomato, set double shoot, Vibrate. We're going to go into the standby phase, jam one of the shoots here, which is going to force the Regeki Break to be deployed. I think you do this just because you realize that the Faith is definitely going back to your deck, and you're going to go ahead and be able to keep the Sinister Serpent in your hand. So this kind of played well for you because now you still have your Dark Monsters in play, when if the same play happened, they're probably sending that GK Spy back to the deck. So a little heads up, it worked out great for Dan Top Deck in that situation, as we are going to bounce that Magician Faith back to the deck. We will get the Celebrity Sinister Serpent back to the hand, but it's going to walk right into the sneaky second Trap Dust Shoot, and then Sinister Serpent will find his way back into the deck. As you try to avoid, he's going to get sent back to the deck anyway. So we're going to go and rip the Delinquent Duo here, which is a super strong duo. No Serpent, no Thunder Dragon, nothing to avoid. You're going to have to take a full value Delinquent Duo and then flip GK Spy. And that's why in my video I put this as the strongest monster in GOAT format, because there's not a lot of cards that can do this. Just flip and just add downhill pressure immediately to your opponent's hitbox, man. It's so oppressive sometimes with the GK Spy. All right, so we draw into the Mirror Force, which is great. It's going to be able to relieve some of this pressure off of you if you can get it to stick and land, as you're going to go ahead and set the Metamorphosis as a bluff to prevent an MST snipe, and then set the Mirror Force, Vibrate here. So you enter to the battle phase, and then you're going to smack in with 12, and then you're going to try to jam the Mirror Force, but that Solemn Judgment will say nay. I think that's a full power Solemn Judgment. I think you can sense that you have so much pressure going down on your opponent. Why even risk, losing that with the Mirror Force? You'll take your half your life points in this spot, jam up the Mirror Force, and keep pushing, because at this point you have to realize that set card is not really doing anything to stop these attacks, and let's go ahead and try to end the game. It's probably what the red corner player is thinking, as you're going to go ahead and set very strong Regeki Break as well. So Upstart Goblin is going to be played, and now you got the Nobleman to cross out as well. So another brick, another bluff. You're going to set it onto the field. There's a world where you can hold this Nobleman cross out in your hand and maybe hope for a better use of it later on, or maybe you already played your Graceful, so maybe not. Maybe put it on the field, just bluffing your opponent off the spot. Maybe they won't summon an additional monster into your torrential tribute. Perhaps it's what Jean-Claude is thinking about, as your back is just fully placed against the wall, and there's really not a lot you can do, as we're not even going to risk using Regeki Break, which is going to attack right on in and punch down with 12 and 12. Both will connect cleanly, and then you're going to set up the Jar of Greed, pass back on over. So now you draw into the Tribe Infecting Virus, and I kind of watched this stream. I watched this match live on stream as this whole event was live stream. So I kind of remember this situation taking place, and he had no positive outlet for this Tribe to discard. Had he had that Noble Cross out in hand and not put it down as a bluff, but there's no way you could have known that you're going to draw Tribe as your next card. But now you're forced to bring down this Tribe in attack position and try to engage with these GK spies, and it will not work. But you're going to go and Regeki break that right away. At least if you would have had priority, you could have popped and then tried to attack in, got Regeki broken, and still been able to live and force your opponent to have to draw another card. As we're going to get into the Torrential Tribute here. Torrential Tribute, we're going to chain the Jar of Greed, play into the Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed, we're going to rip the Pot of Greed. Again, all this is moot because those GK spies are lethal anyway. I guess you keep drawing. Maybe you can get to a Heavy Storm or something like that. Dead Shoot, Dead Night, or Night Ass. You're just going to go ahead and pound town with 2400 and get the dub there. So this has to be a huge sigh of relief for Red Corner player, because like I said, they've been playing all day, the previous day, all day, this day, and you're so close to your goal of being a title champion. And it's like, man, all the pressure has to be relieved winning that game number one. Jean-Claude Van Damme's an incredible player, but your back's against the wall. The panic has to be setting in. The frustration has to be setting in, because that game, you really didn't do anything wrong. That's just how GOAT format is played sometimes. You're not going to get the right cards in the right order, and you're not going to have the right things happen, and they're going to have the right answers to literally everything that you do, and you're just going to lose. But if you want to have the heart of the champion, you know, like most of these players do, then you're going to have to figure out a way to overcome that adversity and continue to play at your highest possible level, even though you're tired, even though you're, you know, could be dehydrated or whatever, headaches from playing on the computer all day. You never know what these duels are going through, but you no excuses. You gotta make it. As you're going to go ahead and draw hands not looking too active, as you're going to have the Pot of Greed, maybe that can change things up for the better, and it really kind of does, but kind of doesn't, as you get into that Dark Magician of Chaos, which drawing that guy at the right time is great, but drawing him at the wrong time, not so great. As you're going to go ahead and set up the one card, the Ring of Destruction, just like I mentioned earlier. Putting too many cards on the field is something that I know I do in my own personal game, and it doesn't always end well for me. So maybe we could try to just keep some of those cards in hand and put them down when we're ready to deploy those cards in a game type environment. But Dan's hand is actually quite slow as well. Not a lot of activity happening there, as you're going to go ahead and set up that GK spy again. Just trying to get that plus train rolling, trying to get that pressure train rolling. You know your opponent's playing those scapegoats. Maybe you can go to get those GK spies up, start pressuring those scapegoats, start pressuring hitbox again, get the dub, get out of there. As you're going to go ahead and set the Mystic Space Typhoon as well. But you're going to have the answer for it this time in the form of Nobleman Crossout. So that's always a sigh of relief, at least for me when I'm playing against Chaos Turbo. If I can hit that knock on the GK spies, I feel my confidence kind of goes up. They're losing a lot of darks. They're going to be losing their pressure train, and I can kind of that defensive ability as well. So getting those things out of play, I always feel a lot better when that happens. As we're going to keep draw passing, as you're going to continue to finally add another card to the field in the form of the scapegoats, which are going to get in phase snipe with that Mystical Space Typhoon. Great use of Mystical Space Typhoon, and now you're going to be able to set up the Slippery Sinister Serpent as we jam it into the main phase one. Main phase one for Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we're going to go ahead and spam and slam the Misty Tomato. Misty Tomato into the battle phase, smack into the Sinister Serpent, which again, this is why I think Sinister Serpent is one of the best cards in this whole entire format, because it's able to just slow the game down and just plus endlessly. Your opponent has to just keep entangled up with this thing. You're insulating your life points. It's doing so much for this turbo deck. It's doing so much for a lot of decks in this format. I think it is absolute a unit, a powerhouse of a Go format card. As you're going to go ahead and add the Serp back, continue to just set this thing as you're just waiting for your power cards to come. Stalling out, as Jean-Claude Van Damme has to just keep playing this game too. But at the same time, Jean-Claude Van Damme deck is also quite slow, and the slower back and forth game is going to start to favor Jean-Claude Van Damme, because he has some of these high-end super powered cards. There's Dark Magician Chaos and things of that sort. So you have to kind of be careful with that, waiting too long playing against him, because he can find a way to get an OTK, as you're going to go ahead and kick that Dark Magician Chaos out of the hand into the graveyard with hand size. And you have that Premature Burial. It's all kind of coming together for the blue corner player, as you're going to go ahead and set up that nasty Night Ass, kick out the Sinister Serpent, electing not to put more cards onto the field and get blown out by a Heavy Storm. You rather just kick the Sinister Serpent. But what that does do against you is that it does allow your opponent to understand that that is not Sinister Serpent that is on the field, and it might cause them to act a certain kind of way. Maybe you might force some type of interaction with this new set now, as we're going to go ahead and see what happens. But Jean-Claude Van Damme doesn't take the bait. We're just going to smack into the nasty night ads. We'll pop the Mystic Tomato. That does great for you because it does set up your graveyard for a dark monster now, so you can get this Chaos Sorcerer online in the event that you need to deploy that guy. As we're going to go and continue to add that Sinister Serpent back, grave to hand again. Sinister Serpent, give it a couple shuffles, and then Sinister Serpent, we're going to set it onto the field. We're also going to set that Noble Cross out this time, kind of telling the story again that, hey, this is Sinister Serpent down, because maybe you would do that same play again, set another monster, and then keep that other set off the field, but you don't want to waste your Thunder Dragons by discarding them all freely. So now we have the Tribe-Infecting Virus out. We're going to use Tribe-Infecting Virus as a nice little beautiful head huntress, and we're going to smack on into that Sinister Serpent again. So this Serpent has gone so long just protecting yourself, just walling up, getting block after block after block, add it back to hand. It is so frustrating, as we're going to finally hit the Trap Does Shoot now. So we'll be able to see where we're going to go here. Looking at the hand, I'm probably sending that Sork back, because that is the punish or the fault, the big play, especially when you got this Breaker, Sork, Snatch, whatever, Ring, and whatever. I don't know the math, but that could be a play. As you're going to go ahead and send that Chaos Sorcerer back send that Chaos Sorcerer back to the deck. And now you have to think here, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? As you shuffle, you just put them down again. We're just going to keep spamming and slamming this Sinister Serpent until the cows come home, until you force something to happen if you're Jean-Claude Van Damme. But now as JCVD gets into the Blackluster Soldier, which is not online yet, you have no light monster inbound either. So you're just going to have to keep attacking into this damn Sinister Serpent. This guy has walled so freaking much, man. No one is doing what Sinister Serpent is doing right here. As you add it back to hand and just continue to vibrate. So now you have another Solemn Judgment. You're waiting. If you can get to, a Heavy Storm, Ring of Destruction situation, or with your Blackluster Soldier, you can OTK too. So both of these duelists are just trying to build their pieces to just OTK the other person, is what it seems like, as they're both not really committing anything to the field. They're just collecting their arsenal and seeing who can implode on the other first. As it's going to go ahead and continue to set, pass it back on over to JCVD, who is going to play Reinforcement of the Army here, just trying to start to apply some form of pressure onto Dan top deck team's hitbox, and you're going to do that in the form of the DD Warrior Lady. Well, DD Warrior Lady is also representing your light monster. Is there some type of kill play here? You have one Solemn versus Solemn, maybe meta and just pre and go for it. I'd just lose right here. You could, in theory, you could. No, that wouldn't be enough. Wait, let's see. No, that wouldn't be enough. You got Ring too. I think you could, but that's just crazy talk. That's literally insanity if you were to try something like that. And I don't think he's insane. But you could meta the DD Warrior Lady, pre the damn DMOC, summon BLS, and just push through and hope and vibe. But I don't think that's the case, as Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to take it slow, and we're going to just use that DD Warrior Lady, banish the Sinister Serpent, and just keep playing this slow, methodical game. I think that's why he's such a good player. He's able to not just weigh these super risky YOLO moves, which I YOLO there, and maybe I win, maybe I don't, but I'm still just going to send it, and I lose the game. Whereas this duelist is going to say, we got 3 back row. I'm feeling no pressure. I got 8,000 life points. Let's just take it slow. As we're going to continue to take it slow, but maybe Swords of Villain Light is going to be revealed, and that's going to slow you down a little bit. As we got Metamorphosis now. Second copy of Metamorphosis, as now you have to think, we're going to go ahead and Tsukiyomi set tribe, creature swap here to take over the Magician of Faith. And that's a great use of creature swap, not gonna lie. As you go ahead and add the Tsukiyomi back to hand, you got an Upstart Goblin now. Upstart Goblin's gonna get spent, and now you have your BLS. So do you have a crazy YOLO play that you can make? If you go freaking crazy mode? Nah, 9,000 is just too high to get to at this point, especially with Snatch being unsnatchable right now. So you have to kind of chill and take it slow as well. As Breaker's going to come out, immediately find the Ring of Destruction, and then we're going to go ahead and take the 16 each. We'll rip the knock. Got to hit your own Faith, which feels terrible. You can't have your opponent flipping that Magician Faith in that spot. That would just be too brutal. And we're going to go ahead and pass it back on over. So you got these swords that are holding you down. You were hoping for like some type of Heavy Storm or some type of Breaker or something like that, because you do have this Solemn, which can absolutely get after it. And that would probably be the end of the game. That 64 is getting very, very attainable. As we're going to go ahead and think about this for a second, and Jean-Claude just going to get and set up the scapegoat tokens, pass it back on over to Dan, top deck team, who gets into the metamorphosis. So you did side in some of your scapegoat meta stuff as you realize your opponent's playing like an aggressive style go control, and you can kind of have a little bit more defense. As you got Swords of Villain Light is going to be deployed. We got set knock again. So I thought it was really cool to use a knock from the field and then set another knock. There's no way they're going to think that's a double knock set on the field, as you're going to go ahead and just set it up, pass back on over. So now you get to the Graceful Charity. Graceful Charity from Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he rips it, looking for a heavy, looking for a way to get some interaction with these sets, as you're going to go ahead and get the Mystical Space Typhoon, which is a decent card in this situation. We'll kick one of the metas. We'll kick the TT. We'll kick the meta, kick the TT, set the Sook, pass. Okay, so Swords now has expired as Dan gets into the Pot of Greed. Nobleman is going to be played on the new set. It's Sook. Pot is going to go down. We got Shoot. We got Sork. So we're going to go ahead and set the meta, and we're going to set the Shoot, keep the Storm in hand, no pro set Storm, and you get into the Delinquent Duo, and now you get into the Trap Does Shoot. So Trap Does Shoot goes off. You're going to have no choice but to send back to BLS. I believe he's still dead on arrival, so no worries there, as now you're going to go ahead and MST. We're going to target the Solemn Judgment, which is always going to be a great hit. And now we have that tribe on the field. So I believe you have an outside game shot, or pretty much a kill confirmed game shot, as you got this Delinquent Duo is going to be deployed just to see if you can get a little bit more information of what your opponent has sided in. And you're going to go ahead and play the Premature Burial. That thing is always looming. When you got D-Mock in your deck and you have this damn Premature Burial, D-Mock coming out of the graveyard is just such a terror, man. It's such a menace. And he's coming back, and we're going to add back a reinforcements of the army. So Rhoda is going to be deployed. Rhoda grabs the Blade Knight. Blade Knight is going to be spammed and slammed, flip the tribe, and then we're just going to go ahead and freely punch in for what is going to be the end of this game. As that, I think that was a great play. That was a great heads up play, understanding what your deck is, understanding your outs and what you needed to have to get to that OTK type situation. I think both of them were kind of playing this slow game, this back and forth game, and I think that is also really cool about this format too. Like, it doesn't always have to be the same thing. You can kind of you have to figure out what your opponent is trying to do to you, and maybe you can get like this back and forth little game within a game kind of thing going on. I've noticed is a trend when you see these match of the week type situations. You're figuring out what your opponent is trying to do to you as you're trying to do the same thing to them, and seeing who can come out on top. As you got a pretty nice hand for Dan top deck team. You draw that damn Dark Magician of Chaos again, but you do have the Premature Barrier to go along with it. So if you can finesse this thing into the GY, you're going to be off to the races again. As we're going to go ahead and Thunder Dragon up. Thunder Dragon will add 2, and then you're going to blast the Upstart Goblin into the Pot of Greed. So that's Upstart to Pot. Love to see it if you are a Dan top deck team. Jean-Claude's got to be like, man, come on, give me a break. As we're absolutely getting it in with that Magician of Faith. You're just going to send it. I love the tenacity. Just get that thing on the field and just say, you better stop it, or I'm gonna flip this thing, add another pot, and I'm gonna run away with this. I'm gonna run away with the victory. As we have Upstart Goblin for Jean-Claude Van Damme as well. I think Upstart is good in this Go Control deck. It just gives you a little bit more opportunities to get some of your combo pieces. As you're gonna go and hit your reinforcements of the army. Reinforce of the army, grab that Exile Force as you sided in what seems to be some of the Warrior package, which I think is great against the Turbo stuff. As you're going to Exile Force, pop the Magician of Faith. Cool. Great use of your Exile Force. Not going to lie, it looks pretty good with this Premature Burial as well, because now you'll be able to use Exile Force ability again if they go for another set. As you're entering to your main phase 1, Dan just makes the play and just blasts this card destruction, which I'm thinking as I watch more of these Turbo players on a higher level, man, I think that's the play. You get card D, you just yam it, especially if you got some pluses with your Thunder Dragons already. Just get that thing played and get those cards in the graveyard, get some new cards, and continue to vibrate vigorously. But this does kind of suck. You lose your D-Mock, but you're also going to lose that Premature Burial, and I don't think you're playing Call of the Haunted in your deck, which maybe is an oversight. I think if you're playing D-Mock and you're playing Premature Burial, you might as well just throw Call of the Haunted in there too, just for those extra opportunities to get this thing back onto the field. As your hand is not looking great over here, but you do have that Delinquent Duo, you do have Ring of Destruction, and you do have an active Chaos Sorcerer, which is going to be great for you. As you see some great cards get out for Jean-Claude Van Damme. So JCVD gets into the Pot of Greed, gets into the Serpent Creature Swap Metamorphosis, and now we're going to go ahead and blast off the Delinquent Duo, and you're hoping to hit that pot. You're hoping he doesn't hit that pot of your JCVD. You got this Serpent, so it's basically going to be a 1-for-1 type situation, and it it is that metamorphosis, and you're going to lose that Sinister Serpent. And now you're sitting at 3 cards. You got to be like, okay, this thing is kind of spiraling. But Dan feels it's time to get aggressive, and we're going to use this Chaos Sorcerer as an attacking guy instead of a banishing guy, which is pretty chill, as you're going to smack on in with 2300, just trying to put the pressure on, run him out of time before he can set up on you, because you understand that's what the blue corner wants to do. He's trying to slow it down, set up on you, and then OTK you. So why would you let him do it? Just go ahead and spam and slam and hope for the best. Also, holding on to the Tribe Infecting Virus in hand as an out to whatever happens next. You know, sometimes people might summon that and just try to attack in with 16 as well. But I think holding it, I think it's the correct play to do. As Jean-Claude Van Damme makes an interesting play here, instead of trying to set the scapegoats and risk a Regeki break in the end phase, we'll just blast the scapegoats now in our main phase, since you don't even have a normal summon in your hand anyway. Just go ahead and get those things onto the field, and then you can set up a creature swap. So we'll take over the Chaos Sorcerer. It works out because Book of Moon can't stop it, and then you'll play Pot of Greed last, playing around Trap Dust Shoot the entire time, adding Snatch Steal, adding Giant Trinade, and then we'll go ahead and see what we do as we banish your 1-of token. We'll go ahead and set up the Royal Decree and pass it back on over to Dan. So now Dan's on the play, holding that Tribe. Looked great now, because now Tribe can deploy, and then Tribe can kick 1 for Spellcasters, your own guy, find him in the grave, kick 1 for Beast as you kick those tokens off, and then 16 can get in clean over the Royal Decree, and you're like, damn, I'm on my way, as you're sitting at 5,100 life points. We'll shuffle, set, ring, pass, and then we'll go ahead and blast the Royal Decree here. So Royal Decree looking pretty good, jamming up the Ring of Destruction, and now you get into this crazy, wacky Cyber Jar. You'll get the Serpent back, give it a couple shuffles, and then let's see what we set. We set the Cyber Jar. So you could have set the Serp and got that thing Nobleman crossed out, but you're going to just take a chance and just put this Cyber Jar down, and maybe your opponent won't see it coming, as you probably don't see people play it against Turbo too much. But Jean-Claude Van Damme was like, you know what, let's mix it up, and Cyber Jar is going to absolutely implode, blowing up this game, and you're going to go ahead and add 5 more cards to the fray. When Cyber Jar goes off, the game just gets wild and crazy. That's why I think more people should play Cyber Jar in GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! As Solemn Judgment is added, Scapegoats added, Trap Does Shoot is added, Metamorphosis is added. Boom. And let's see what we got over here. We're going to kick the Sinister Serpent down, and now we got Graceful Charity. We have the Upstart Goblin, Metamorphosis. We have the Morphing Jar. We have DD Warrior Lady. So if you guys don't know, when you are resolving Cyber Jar, it's important that you can add all the cards to your hand, and then you can set them on your field, shuffle your hand, and then put them down. Your opponent doesn't get to know where your Cyber Jar cards are, so keep that in mind. So if he'd have known where this Morphing Jar was at, maybe this game can get a little bit more crazy, but you're able to shuffle it and make your opponent have to guess. But seeing a Cyber Jar resolve and then a Morphing Jar is on the field, it's got to be, and your battle phase is gone and you got nobody to attack. It's got to be one of the most irritating feelings that you can have as a player. But you got DD Warrior Lady down, you got Morphing Jar down, and now we're going to have to think about it, as you're going to have to go for a Metamorphosis play, take the Sinister Serpent, and just hope that you can hit this damn Morphing Jar, because you don't want some crazy stuff to happen with this damn Morphing Jar. But you're going to miss, as Thousand Eyes Restrict is going to take over the DD Warrior Lady instead. And you'll set a couple just in case your opponent can find a way to flip this Morphing Jar. You don't want to get blown out too bad. However, your adversary is going to go ahead and play the Upstart Goblin, get into the Ring of Destruction, jam the Graceful Charity, and now kick the Sinister Serpent. And now they have the damn Giant Trunade, which is crazy in this deck. I think this is insane. You got the Giant Trunade, adding your DD Warrior Lady back to hand. And now let's see. We're going to go for a Snatch Steal play, and then a Creature Swap play. So Creature Swap and Morphing Jar, looking good, as we get to take over both your opponent's mods and send them a damn Morphing Jar face down with all the cards in hand. And you're like, okay, so we're thinking we're set one DD Warrior Lady, we'll set everything that you possibly can, and then we'll switch the Thousand Eyes Restrict to attack position and attack into the Morphing Jar. So you're going to go +4 here, and you're blowing up your opponent. That's like +5. You're going +5 because your opponent is losing 6 cards, gaining 5. You're losing 1, gaining 4, and this is just so powerful, man. Morphing Jar is crazy. I don't know why people aren't playing this damn card. I really don't. It's too volatile, maybe, but this is just so crazy that this happened in real world. So Dan is like, look, man, I just want to play, man. I want to win. This is game 3. I just need a chance, dude. I got 5 cards in hand. I just got blasted by a morphing jar, and I'm just trying to survive at this point. As JCVD has to be feeling great. You're up a whole bunch of cards, and you're going to be chilling. As you're going to go ahead and blast your own copy of Metamorphosis here. You're going to blast your own copy of Metamorphosis, and you're going to bring out your own Thousand Eyes Restrict just in case a breaker or something, and you're going to take over morphing jar. But what you do have to keep in mind is that your deck size is getting low. You got 8 cards left in the deck. Cyber Jar, Morphin Jar typically do end in a lot of deck out situations, but Dan also is having 10 cards left in the deck, so that is something that could potentially come up as you are grinding your way back into this thing. As Sinister Serpent is slowly adding itself back to hand, you don't really have any pressure on you, and you have this Thousand Eyes Restrict that only has 700 attack. So if you can just set up some kind of wall, maybe you can just wall out and hang on long enough, as you're going to be forced to Nomen across out another Magician of Faith of your own. You're going to play another knock on the DD Warrior Lady, so both knocks deploy, and we'll just set, pass it back on over to Junclaw Van Dam. As you get the Sinister Serpent back, we're going to go and blast off one of the Nobleman crossouts that you have, hitting the Night Assailant. Your BLS is online and live, so this is your meal ticket to get out of this whole scenario if it gets too bad. But you have a lot of life points. 700 on 9,000 really isn't a thing at all. As you're going to take the 700, you'll set up the Blade Knight, and then you're going to pass back on over. So you're drawn to another GK Spy. You'll set up the Spy, pass it back to Junclaw Van Dam. Junclaw Van Dam gets into the Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute we're actually going to destroy our own Thousand Eyes Restrict just to get the pressure up, because you can kind of feel that the time is running out. And I think at this moment, if you get to that damn Blackluster Soldier or somebody, because Blackluster Soldier is still one of the cards that are in this 6. If you can get to that BLS here, maybe you can make something. Maybe you can make it happen. Maybe, but you still don't get to it, as Tribe is going to come on down, hit into the GK Spy, and then you have to discard for GK Spy again just to keep the pressure mounting. You're going to kick Royal Decree, set 1, pass it back on over Dan top deck team, who still is kind of chilling. Now you get these scapegoats, so you got to be feeling really good with these scapegoats in hand, and also that GK Spy. As you're going to go set another GK Spy, pass it back on over. Now you get into the Spirit Reaper. So Spirit Reaper is going to be summoned in attack position, as now you're trying to go after the hand and get some more plusage, as Mirror Force is going to be deployed, and you force out a Royal Decree. So this Royal Decree is looking good, but also it's looking great against you, because you have a whole plethora of trap cards onto the field, man, and now you can't even use them. So you kind of negated yourself with your own Royal Decree, which really sucks. And third GK Spy is going to be the wall, so that's going to force another discard, as you're going to go ahead and rip the last GK Spy off the field, and then you play a super Delinquent Duo, late game Delinquent Duo, hitting a late game Blackluster Soldier. Your life points are only at 37. Has to be a good feeling. So all you need here is your opponent to just not draw well as you get into the Torrential Tribute, which is a brick. You can't really do nothing under Royal Decree, but that Sinister Serpent is still looking strong. As Blade Knight bumps up to 2,000, we'll set the TT, we'll set the Serpent, and we'll pass, as Mind Control is going to be the draw. We get your own Sinister Serpent back, so you know 100% that is Sinister Serpent. So you lean into Sinister Serpent on Sinister Serpent, and you blast into Sinister Serpent, and then 2,000, and then 16, get in clean, and then 300 gets in clean. You don't tuck it in, you just send it, as you are running out of time with 4 cards left, as you're going to take all the way down to 4,400. You didn't deploy the scapegoats because you didn't want to lose them to the Tribe Infecting Virus, and now you get into a Metamorphosis, which is tremendously huge. Having Metamorphosis this late game, because you can jam the Serpent, summon the Thousand Eyes Restrict. Oh my goodness, it looks like we got a game, as you're going to take over the Tribe Infecting Virus. You smack into the Spirit Reaper. So do you take here? Do you take here? I'm looking at these traps, and someone pointed out, I think in the stream or after it was over, when they realized you had this Ring of Destruction, maybe it's fatigue, even though you have your Royal Decree up, you can play this Ring of Destruction on this Spirit Reaper, and that will get it off the field to prevent them from constantly just hammering down on it. Maybe you can turn and hammer down on this Sinister Serpent, but I don't know if that's the right play. I don't know if that's a heads up. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but you could have if you felt so inclined. Even though Royal Decree is up, Ring of Destruction will in fact destroy Spirit Reaper in this case. But you'll elect to just eat the damage, and this is looking bad for you, because if you can't get this damn Thousand Eyes Restrict off the field, you will lose this game with this damn Sinister Serpent just getting Spirit Reaper just getting hit over and over and over again. That will be a game ender for you, as you got Fossilier, the dual mode beast. So now you're going to be forced to Mind Control here, which is an interesting mind control. Mind Control here, I don't know why we Mind Control here, but you're going to do it, and then you're going to double tribute for the dual mode beast. I'm sure there's a reason why you mind control there. I just can't think of it offhand what it might be, as you're going to have to just do that just to get the Spirit Reaper off the field. But I think you can go for Ring of Destruction and maybe tribute set this thing, tribute set maybe, and it'll just be at 0 instead of having some stats or whatever. But now you get kind of the punish again, because Tsukiyomi is going to be the draw. 3 cards left in deck. One of them just happened to be that Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi can now flip the Thousand Eyes, take the Fuel Sealer to dual mode beast in attack position. Could have been set. It'll been at 0. And then you got to be able to clap into the Blade Knight. So you're taking more damage on top of that. So this is looking really bad as you get into the Heavy Storm and a little bit of tilt. You could have got your servant back, but it wouldn't have mattered because you just go for another like Souk loop thing and you just play Heavy Storm out of frustration, as Dan will then chain their own copy of Scapegoats, and you're going to lose all that material. And now we're going to just set up and be fine with a deck out scenario, as Sinister Serpent will be added back. And now we'll go ahead and get a quality take in, and then we'll go ahead and set one, and the last punishing card is going to be that Black Luster Soldier. So that is a game. That was an incredible match, man. That's why I wanted to showcase this to you guys, because no matter what happens, even if you're down, even if things are looking bad, you never know. You can always find a way to claw your way out of it. I think both of these duels play incredibly well throughout that entire tournament, and I thought this match was an indicator of that. So that's why I wanted to showcase this on the match of the week. So make sure you get into the comment section and tell me what you think about this match. Congratulations to Dan, Top Deck Team, for winning the Format Library Championship. That's all I have for today. As always, I'm JDZ. I play GOATS. Until the next time, shout out to all the real ones. Salute to the OGs. Peace.